Hello and welcome to Walk into Urithiru. This is part 14 of my Oathbringer preview chapter analysis. I'm Overlord Jeebus, and let's just jump straight in. I did the prefaces last time, so we're going to jump straight into chapter 26 called The Blackthorn Unleashed. So we start this chapter with Evie and Dalinar just hanging out before a big battle. Fun fact, at this point, Dalinar refers to Jezrien as Jezrien and not the Voronane Yezereza. And Brandon has confirmed that this is a mistake and that he should have been calling him Yezerezera, which is awful to say. And this will be fixed in the ebook, the audiobook, and any printings after. So make sure you keep hold of your first printings of Dalinar calling Jezrien version, because they'll be worth, something to collectors in the future. Not that we're going to be the ones collecting this shit in the future. We see that Evie is way more into this relationship than Dalinar is, which is exactly lines up with the last chapter's preface where it says, I killed someone who loved me dearly instead of I killed someone who I love dearly. Dalinar mentions as well that Evie owns the plate that eventually becomes Adolin's and not Toh. And I find that very strange as well, because they both stole it and ran from Iri with it, so yeah, why does Evie own it and not Toh? I also believe because of the complete lack of any mention of Toh whatsoever, in regards to the modern times, I have a feeling he's going to die, and I think he's probably going to die before Evie does, because the just complete lack of him. Anyone even mentioning him means he must have just been completely irrelevant to the whole Alethkar elite, because he just doesn't exist anymore. It seems he was wiped just as thoroughly as Evie was. Heck, Evie's mentioned way more than Toh was, and you'd think Toh would stick about and be mad that his sister died. We also learn in this chapter that Rhysadium, they bond music spren of all things, and I'm looking forward to hearing the explanation for that. Maybe something related to the rhythms, What an odd thing for them to bond. We know they have gem hearts like most things on Roshar, and for some reason in my head, even though they're way more suited to Roshar than normal horses, I kind of assumed that they lived in Shinovar just like normal horses, but it seems they're a bit more mainland Roshar than normal horses. And yeah, even though they said they'd travel a bit farther east than they would have, does that mean they're kind of native to Yarkaved, or is, Dalinar mentions in this chapter that once again the thrill has a rhythm to it, and so I absolutely do believe that the thrill is simply someone being open up to a rhythm, and I had assumed this was a passive thing, but then I'm kind of reading it, and in Way of Kings it mentions that there are, and thank you for Agent 34 for pointing this out to me, but in Way of Kings they mention that there are different thrills. There is the thrill of contest, which is, for duels and sports and stuff, and there's the thrill of war, which is, the one he's feeling in this chapter, where just the slaughter of hundreds, is what really gets him off. And so I had assumed that Narguel was this was a passive effect that he was having, but it may be that he's actively, encouraging certain behaviours, tailoring the thrill to what someone's doing when they're doing it, and that's actually him doing it on purpose, to again cause disruption, make people fight each other more. There was the whole thing about Odium realized that he could just hold back and people will fight each other way more than if he keeps going at them. So yeah, I'm not sure if this might actually be just Nargol's true purpose, where he just opens people up to rhythms at certain times to get them to act a certain way. We also get a description of Dalinar kind of submitting himself to the thrill of him, his vision going red. He doesn't know anything but killing at that moment. Anything that stops him from killing is just, he reacts in pure rage. And this kind of really falls into my theory, because for me, my theory on how the night that Evie dies, that plays out is you've got a city in rebellion, you've got Dalinar cutting his way through an entire city full of people, completely taken over by the thrill. And, I could absolutely see him in that state, killing Evie in the process of trying to save her. For me, that just makes perfect sense. At this point as well, Kadash is actually still part of Dalinar's guard. So it turns out that what happened in the Rift a couple of flashbacks ago wasn't what made him join the Ardentia. The event that made him fall to his knees retching, that happened in Rathalos, that made him the next day join the Ardentia, that hasn't happened yet. Kadash has just walked through hundreds of people that Dalinar's killed, and he's pretty unfazed by it. So what the hell did Dalinar do? I really want to know. I really feel kind of sick to know, but I also really want to know. And then we end the chapter on the event that we heard Dalinar talk about before, where he talks about the thrill almost at one point making him attack his brother. And so obviously he doesn't. He realizes his brother, and he says to himself, I should never be king because I just will turn into a murderous tyrant. So we'll see how that goes. We then move on to chapter 27 called Playing Pretend. And we start with Shallan hanging out with all the politicians and stuff and, doing some doodles as she normally does. She's had a conversation with Patton about the thing that we saw, the Mimic Spren, and Patton even says that it's a Spren of Odium. Obviously, the Spren that we talk to, they don't know everything, especially, the Radiant Spren, because they lose all their memories and stuff. But, thanks for having my back, Patton. And Dalinar mentions that the cities are going dark, especially, the major ones. And they kind of say this a bit nonchalantly, this is a way bigger deal than, just killing people, because the Spanreeds are Roshar's, that's their edge in battle. They're able to do the whole Shattered Plains thing couldn't have ever happened if it wasn't for Spanreeds, because that communication over those distances is way easier to run a country with Spanreeds. That instant communication, it's a huge logistical advantage. Communication, and it's just losing Spanreeds, an entire city going dark, is terrifying. And if Odium's forces are able to locate and destroy Spanreeds, and I have a feeling it's Spren doing this because it took a hell of a long time for all the soldiers to destroy all the Spanreeds before someone was able to get a message off saying, hey, the listeners are attacking and they're destroying the Spanreeds. So I do think this is a Spren doing this. Maybe even there's an unmade who blocks Spanreeds somehow. Who knows? And so, this is really scary to me that they're able to do this because, Spanreeds is radios, basically. And could you imagine if all the radios around the world just turned off? It's very scary. So, my theory is that it's a Void Spren doing this, hunting it down and attacking and getting rid of the Spanreeds before anyone can get a message off, before the attack even happens. Other than that, we've not got much else to go on. Oh, we also have this army that's attacking Marat, the southernmost central Rosharan country. And I feel I'm not sure if this army that's attacking that is actually attacking it or whether they're just on their way east. Maybe even as far as, to Dalinar. I don't know why they'd be doing that. But it just, they made note of it's weird that they're attacking Marat. So, who knows. Heck, this might actually be the forces that stole the boats from Dalinar, reaching the shoreline, because Marat and Dalinar are quite close to each other. So it could even be that. Oh, and the Shallan then works out kind of what we've worked out, that it's a Mimic Spren that's, copying things that it sees, or just copying things in general. I think that it has to see these things happen for it to happen. She then starts drawing Sadeas without a specific memory in mind. So that moment where she draws Adolin killing Sadeas, without any thought in mind, that's incoming. That is definitely going to happen. Oh, and then we get more Malata, which I'm very happy about. Her Spren is called Spark, and apparently Releaser Spren like to break things to find out what's inside them. I've always thought, in my head, it just made sense that the Spren for Releasers would be to a Flame Spren what Syl is to Wind Spren. And so I don't know what it would be, whether it would be a Destruction Spren, or maybe even a Curiosity Spren, something like that. But that's always been my theory, and I've still liked that. And the name Spark, because some people, fire and sparks and electricity, that kind of thing, they all work. So I'm still thinking it's an evolved version or a high version of a Flame Spren. Malata suggests not refounding the Knights Radiance as they were before, and why should they? It didn't work out before, so why would it work now? Shallan makes a good point where, maybe not try new things, but it's a good question. I've been thinking for a while now, especially with what the blurb says about finding a secret that will destroy them all, and it's already been mentioned 2 or 3 times, the secret that calls the Recreants in Oathbringer alone, in just this part 1 alone. And so I do think before the end of Oathbringer we're going to find out what that reason for the Recreants was, and I feel like this may result in a Knights Radiance founded and built with that knowledge already in mind, as opposed to built on what may have been a lie. Oh, she also seems very dismissive of the Everstorm and how that being a desolation. And this kind of got me thinking, we don't know what the desolations were. We kind of have a good idea. We know it has something to do with Odium and the Heralds and all that kind of thing. But what if she's right? What if this isn't a desolation? We already know the Everstorm is new. So what if this is just a completely different thing? I mean, at the end of the conversation, Shallan calls her annoying, but I just find Malata endlessly fascinating, and I just want to find out more about her. I want her to be in more scenes. I want her to become a point of view character. I want her to get her own little novella between Stormlight 3 and 4. I really like Malata. Oh, and then Eli and Amaram turn up to the meeting, and Eli mentions that she thinks her nephew is too young to become High Prince Sadeas, and so she names Amaram Regent and Heir. And I find that weird. If he was just named Regent, that'd be fine. Look after the princedom until the nephew becomes of age. But instead she names him regent and heir. So if he's heir to the person he's regent to, he has zero reason to give a shit about the nephew. In fact, it's in his best interest to make sure the nephew dies somehow, which is also something that is exactly the kind of thing Eli would do. This move as well would also kind of be political suicide, because it would end up with having Princedom Sadeas gone, and instead you'd have the house Amaram. And then I thought, ooh, unless Eli plans to marry Amaram, and then they will just simply rule as they are. I have a feeling that might be her next move in this game, because it just seems like completely political suicide to do what she's just done. And that's not what Eli does. She's smarter than that. Oh, and then in reaction to this, Adolin, goes for a walk. Shallan goes with him. And Adolin just blows that lid off the whole Kaladin Helleran thing. He just straight up says, oh, you didn't know that that's totally why they hate each other? Yeah, so Kaladin was the one that killed your brother, not Amaram. And, Shallan just shuts down. And then Adolin just carries on chatting away about Helleran and Sadeas and Amaram and, all that. And it's like, man, no wonder you go through women so quickly if you can't even notice when your betrothed has basically completely shut herself down when you've just told her her fellow Radiant is the one that killed her bloody brother. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed, is Adolin. So with Adolin revealing this information as well, this kind of throws a wrench if that was what Mraize was planning on telling Shallan. And so if not, I also think, even though, Mraize might not be aware that Adolin's telling me, and so I think Mraize's knowledge is a bit different, and I'm wondering what it is, whether it's Helleran is still alive, or whether it's some more information about what he was up to when he was alive. We shall see. We then have Shallan discovering the drawing she didn't draw. And this is very worrying, because even Patton doesn't remember her drawing these, which actually makes me think she didn't, straight up didn't. Some people have suggested that the Mimic Spren was doing it, but the Mimic Spren was able to mimic, wounds and, murders and the image of themselves to something else almost perfectly without anyone noticing, with people thinking, hey, this is exactly the same, this is really weird. And so if he was trying to draw something, I'd feel like that he'd be able to draw a lot better. So I don't think it was the Mimic Spren. And so I really think this is another sign that Shallan is just absolutely losing it. And I'm really enjoying her descent into madness. And yeah, I still think her fifth oath is going to be, I am Shallan Devar, because it's just going to be beautiful. And then we end with Shallan and the Shalads getting up to some mischief. I assume the plan is to get them drunk and get them in a fight so that they cause an injury somewhere, and then hanging around the area for the next few days to try and catch someone trying to recreate the injury. And that's it for this episode, and I hope you enjoyed. We actually got last week the UK tour dates for Brendan to be about. So on the Tuesday the 28th of November at Forbidden Planet in London, I'm going to be there, I'll be there recording the signing, so I'll be there for the whole time. I'm going to be going there asking my own questions. I'll be posting those about, for people to give feedback on. So, yeah, if people are going to the London Forbidden Planet signing, I'll see you guys there next month. And thank you for joining me. As per usual, leave a comment down below. You can chat to me on the Reddit, the Discord, 17th Shard post. And, yeah, hope to see you guys next time, where we can continue walking to Urithiru. Bye!